Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Career Chats with Aaron. I'm your host, Aaron Williams.
Robert.
And I'm Robert Velez Jr., Mission Counsel for Waterbury, Connecticut.
I'm John Thompson, the Manager of Disability Services for the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board. I'll be a special co-host with Aaron here this week.
That's right. So, let's get started. We're going to be interviewing you, Robert.
Okay.
So,
Yes, sir.
just like the last one, we start off with these fun little icebreakers. So, the icebreaker for this episode is, what was your first job and did it teach you anything that still sticks with you today?
Wow. My first job, honestly speaking, I was 14 working in New York, and I was working for Westside YMCA, and I was a youth counselor there. And at the time being, it was very intriguing because I was just learning how to become a teenager as far as, maturity, trying to mentor 8, 9-year-olds. So the age difference was not a wide gap. But, in comparison to my age, they was children, but I was still in a sense, a kid myself as far as being a teenager, learning how to be responsible, learn how to be an adult, and just being an example as far as demonstrating that love and guidance and just teaching them right from wrong as far as building that foundation. So it was very intriguing for me. And it was just, and basically it's all about just trying to find myself as far as just trying to figure out life.
That's really nice. John?
So, depends on your definition of first job. I had a couple of, they was more so like odd jobs. I used to, from the time I was around 10 to 13, I used to go and I would cut people's yards, rake leaves, pick up wood, sticks, just, small odd jobs you'd imagine a child would do. And, I got paid for it. But my first on the record job to where I had to fill out my W-9s, W-4s, things along that order was a summer job in West Virginia through the West Virginia Regional Workforce Investment Board.
Oh, wow, that's West Virginia, huh?
Yeah, that's where I'm from, and it really stuck with me today because now I work at a workforce board. Ironically, they helped me with my first real job, and now I help other people get their first job, so it really translates over.
That's really cool. All right.
What about you, Aaron?
Yes. My first job was working as a camp counselor at the Naugatuck Park and Rec Center at the summer camp. I've been doing it for 3 years, and as a camp counselor, your job is to create fun activities for the children, making sure they all have fun, they respect each other. Because it's all about them. So you want to make sure that they have a fun summer.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and I love working with children.
Yeah. It's a great experience, though, and I think we need to carry that over to now when you think about what's happened to the generations for us, the disconnect and the whole narrative of them being so disrespectful and disengaged. So a lot of what we've done in the previous is learning how to be mentors, but those are attributes that carries over to now because of the impact that young people are facing when it comes to issues of like different traumatic experiences that they had to encounter in their life. So a lot of it has to carry over. And I think that's very important. Like, let's say, for example, you and I had done something of counseling kids early because of how it's going to carry over to today.
Exactly. And what sticks with me is when working with children, you have to be a good leader. And one thing I've learned about being a leader is it's not about barking orders or telling them what to do. You have to have patience, be gentle, and help them learn as they grow up. That way, it'll stick with them, and as they grow up, they'll begin to learn a lot of wonderful things in life, especially when it comes from their leader.
Well, leaders, great leaders, if you think about it from a counseling aspect of it, or let's say from an athlete standpoint, you're like, well, how does that coincide? Because when you're a leader, you're dealing with all types of personalities, whether it's in the locker room or it's in your classroom or it's in your presence. Great leaders figure out how do you maximize a person's full potential, how do you maximize their full growth as far as salvaging it where you're getting the best out of them. Some people, they need prayers. Some people, they need a joke. Some people need a stern conversation. Some people just need laughter. So great leaders figure out how to get the most out of a person, because what you're doing is you're investing into their young lives. Basically, you're imparting yourself onto what they're lacking so that when they get older, they don't forget the foundations for us where it all started from.
That's
I
really
love that.
good.
Yeah,
Really.
it's great.
It's like what I said from the first episode, people. You better write that down. Keep in mind, this is good stuff right here. All right. So, first question. So, could you give us an overview of what Job Corps offers to young people looking for career training?
Sure. So, Job Corps, I don't look at that as a job. I look at that more as a ministry. Like, okay, what's the difference? The difference is that God put me here for a reason to inspire, give love, bring awareness, to give hope onto those who feel like there's a sense of hopelessness. Right?
Yep.
That's foundational. So Job Corps is a free program, like literally free. There's no hidden agenda. There's no reading the fine print. It's a program that instills structure that young people are lacking today. Job Corps offers an opportunity to get their driver's license for free, get their GED or high school diploma because it's equivalent, to get their certification of whatever trade it is, whether it be in the medical field, hospitality, homeland security, whether it be culinary arts, whether it be auto mechanics, and so forth. So the list goes on as far as different attributes, as far as the kind of trades we offer. And they live on campus for free like they're young adults, because we have to treat them like young adults. You can't treat them like a kid, because then they're going to start acting like kids.
Yeah.
And like I tell young people immediately, all that childish play is corny. That's played out. You have to have that mindset of becoming an adult. If you want that respect to be a young adult, then you need to act like your age and not your shoe size. And they'll look at me like, oh, dang, that's kind of heavy. But you know what? It makes sense, though, because you're challenging their way of thinking. Because what happens is that in this day and age, they've been entitled. And they feel like I'm entitled to something. And I'm like, whoever told you that's a lie. That's a lie. You wanted that bad? Put the work in. If you don't work, you're not going to eat. So Job Corps helps them build up their work ethic. It helps them build up their character as far as their social awarenesses, being relational, not having all these distractions there. It's about helping young people become the very best God wants them to be, especially now because it's urgent, because of the narrative that has been portrayed out there where you hear all this discussion that young people are stupid, disengaged, uninterested, disrespectful, and so forth. And to some extent, it's so, but that's not always all the case. It's all about having that right person there, that right mentor there to build them up, to love them first and foremost, but to challenge their way of thinking, because their mentality is way off. And we have to be the adults and set by example. So this is something that I take tremendous integrity and honor to do. So it's to help young people alter their way of their thinking. And this is what Job Corps does. It gives them that firm foundation as far as hands-on learning versus staring at a board for like 45 minutes where, they're looking at a board, and after 5-10 minutes, they start to doze off. I start to winch. They start to doze off. They get bored. They get disengaged, they're uninterested, and they just fall asleep, or they look at their phone. They're just constantly doing this all day. So it's about them learning how to be more educationally minded, of learning things differently. That's hands-on, visuals, touching, feeling, asking questions. Hands-on, because you're dealing with real-life people, real-life encounters, and that's what Job Corps does. It gives them that foundation of balance of work aspect of it, and then there's fun things to do. So they have fun activities like they have trips to different places. They have student government. They have clubs, organizations, Bible study. They have, tournaments. They have basketball teams. They got cheerleading. They have cheerleading squad now. So Job Corps is giving them a balance of work aspect of it, and then fun things to do. Could give them a balance of having that ability to just be leveled and just keep it on even keel. So, I think that Job Corps gives them that fighting chance, because a lot of times they apply to colleges and they may not have the finances, or they may not have the best grades out there. So they feel like, oh man, what do I do? So what happens is that when you don't catch them where they're vulnerable, the streets call their name, and guess what? They get suffocated out to the street. Next they become gang members. Next they become pregnant. Next they're going to get shot at. Next they're going to get killed. So my goal is to fight the good fight. And this is what I fight for every day. And this is what Job Corps does for us, providing that structure, that discipline to carry on as far as learning how to overcome the barriers of your environment. So I tell young people, what do you want to do? Do you want to be the product of the environment or the environment's a product of you? They be like, yo, mister, that's deep, but that makes me think. But it makes sense because there's a connection. Because a lot of times there's been a disconnect. Even when I was growing up in the 70s, I'm a 70s baby, but there's been a disconnect because there was not enough adults, mentoring young people how to figure things out. I had to figure out life myself, coming from Bronx, New York. I had to figure out life myself because I had no mentor, I had no past, I had no one there to show me, okay, let me just take you under my wing and share what life is really all about and being more aware. I had to figure out for myself. Just like young men and women are doing right now. They're trying to figure out life for themselves, but they're trying to think out the box, and that's what you have to hold on to.
Wow.
Yeah, something you said really stuck with me. Out being a manager of disability services here, I do much broader jobs than just disability service. I also help a lot with all the youth programs and the summer youth program. And when you said that people have the perception that young kids these days are stupid, they're not.
No.
This is one of the smartest generations that is out there. It's just keeping them engaged like you guys do is so crucial to pulling out their, strong suits and finding things they're great at. So I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and it really does make an impact because I see it firsthand.
Yeah, because what happens is that young people are geniuses in different ways where they just lack guidance, but most of all they lack love because, as I was saying before, young people have been misguided, and because normality for them is seeing violence in the household, seeing violence out in the street, seeing violence in gangs, that's normality for them because that's all they see, but no one's not telling them right from wrong. So, but there's a lot of potential in them, and I said, be unapologetic, don't worry about what people think. It's what God has in store for you. You got to just lock in on it, and they be like, man, you gave me a chance to live on and to fight, to have something to fight for. So, a lot of times that I talk to young people, it's about being real with them. And they can smell, and they can sniff you out if they know if you're authentic or not. They'll know.
Oh yes, these days
they know. They'll know. They'll know if you're all in for them as far as investing into them or not. So it's all about just meeting them where they're at, loving them first and foremost, but changing their way of thinking so they can see beyond than what's in their immediate surroundings.
Wow, really well said.
Thank you.
You got you. That was so deep. Like, I'm telling you all, take notes. I'm saying this so many times, but it's really good if you remember all this. And no, it's really.
Yeah.
There was something related to that.
Sure.
Because I'm an actor, a story writer, and producer on YouTube.
Oh, nice. I'm a poet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a story writer, I also write stories for children as well.
Sure.
And as a story writer, you don't want to talk down to the children like they're stupid because they're not. And that's been my biggest issue with current children's shows, that they treat them like they're stupid. They're talking down to them. So as a writer, for them to learn morals of these stories or have a clear understanding in life that will stick to them for a long time, is to write a story that they know, okay, we're not stupid.
Right.
We get it. But it's something that will stick to them as it goes on.
Sure.
That's one thing I've learned as a story writer.
Yeah.
You never want to talk down to your audience.
It's funny you say that because as a poet, it's similar of writing in a way that connects to people of different audiences, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and so forth. It's not about race; it's about human beings and just impacting lives. And you have not just these children's shows that speaking dumb about young people, speaking the language of stupidity that has tried to attack young people because, like it or not, we're in a war. And the youth is one of the main population that's under attack, right? So you have that as far as these children's stories that's, if you look at the subliminal messages in between that, is very demonic, it's very inappropriate. It's not just in children's story, but how about music? Look where music has gone.
Yes.
There was a time growing up in the 70s and the 80s music was unique from, you could tell that it's techno. You could tell that it's house music. You could tell that it's freestyle. You could tell that it's hip hop and pop. You could tell the whole different genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
But what you listen to now is very blatantly disrespectful as far as the evil, the wickedness, the blasphemy of what music is trying to perpetuate. And when you think about what's being promoted, as far as like, these stuffed teddy bears, like there's this one teddy bear where like if you pull like the little string and you let loose, it will say something like, kill yourself.
My goodness.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of demonic influences that's trying to like destroy the youth, as far as just taking their lives, the inability to reproduce. So it's really up to us to like really break it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take one person. It takes a whole camaraderie of people to work together and have a selfless mindset to work together versus being selfish and trying to compete.
Yeah.
'Cause like I tell people all the time, if you feel the need to compete to be complete, you're going to be incomplete. I'm like, what? Say that again? If you feel the need to compete to be complete, you'll be incomplete. Because you don't have to feel threatened by somebody else's, ideas as far as, as far as working together to accomplish a common goal.
Yeah.
So I've always said this, that there's a difference between small minds, good minds, great minds, right? So small minds are people that like to gossip and limit themselves, and they try to infiltrate and convey limitations onto them because they're limited themselves, right? Then good minds are those that talk about events like politics, sports, what's going on in the news. Great minds are those who are creative, who are unique, and is selfless to strategize and implement ideas to put together to help solidify ways to help a young person escape from that gang lifestyle, escape from that whole pornography influences in their surroundings, escaping from that whole influence as far as the environment being perverted of different sorts. That's what it's all about. It's about being secure of who you are and working together to accomplish a common goal that, here's our opportunity to showcase that, we can become better people and show them how to be better. Because we can't speak about, as adults, being better people if we're not saying by example. That's being a hypocrite. So if we're not saying by example, how are we going to tell someone, a young person, how to live their life as far as being productive if we're not being productive ourselves?
Right.
It's a lot of heavy stuff. And honestly, Aaron, I think this is a good part to segue right into our next question of what qualities or skills would make a strong Job Corps applicant, Robert?
Yes.
Could you tell us that?
So it's about honesty. I could deal with an honest person. Everyone has been gifted with something from above. It's a matter of just discovering what it is. It's about showing them how to navigate. Being an applicant, what makes a strong applicant is honesty, having some kind of value, having some kind of, way of living that incorporates that you have something more to give as far as giving onto the world in the aspect of, the gifts, right? So, what makes a Job Corps applicant stand out is what can you bring to the table? Do you have something to offer? What's your regardless of what the situation is, coming from a single parent home, coming from a violent environment and so forth, but what can you bring? What do you can bring to the table? How can we help maximize and salvage that opportunity to build as far as, really growing and cultivating that gift? So, that's what I look for in a Job Corps applicant is, can you persevere when you face those trials? Can you be an overcomer when you face those hardships? Can you withstand temptation when it's right there in your face? So that's what I look for in the applicant, is a real person that is unafraid to recognize their wrongdoings, but seeking for love and for help and for praise and for direction. I look for applicants that's honest about their current situation, but trying to think out the box for us, inspired up. I want to be better than where I'm at right now as far as my circumstances. And I can tell you this as a living witness, that a lot of these young people that's going to Job Corps is because they understand that my situation does not define me, but it refines me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a strong statement,
Really
for sure.
strong. Right. Now, it's, I'm about to say, it sounds like there's a lot going on that is so important for individuals to learn, and something that can hold on to them for the rest of their life. That way it'll help them out.
Mm-hmm.
as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, that's really, really good.
It's from the heart, because when you know, and that's any profession, right? That a person knows whether you care about them or not, right? They'll know whether you care about them or not. They'll see right through you whether you care about them or not, whether you are fully invested to what they're trying to accomplish. They'll know whether you're there as far as you're in it for the mission or you're in it for a paycheck. They'll know the difference.
Yeah.
They'll know, because when you go above and beyond, they're going to go above and beyond, because they understand, yeah, this person's fighting not for me but with me in this battle. And that's a key element to really know that it's about really investing onto a young person and just giving them hope that there's reasons to go on and to live on. So I always felt like, young people just need directions as far as how to navigate when they face those difficult times. And sometimes, in that journey that I go through with them, sometimes it comes with heartaches where, like, someone got in trouble. I'm like, what was not resonating with you as far as in between. And a lot of times it's like, they'll do better, but then they'll get caught up in the moment or something. But then I don't focus on the failures. I focus on the triumphs.
Right.
And I will promise you this, that there has been more triumph than failures. But to understand it fully, you're going to go through failures in life. You're going to go through failures. A lot of times folks tend to focus on just the successes. But what happens when you go through a time where there was a setback or there was a failure? When a kid got kicked out, I'm like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, it bothers me, because there's no excuses for that. So, when you understand the work at hand, you know what you're up against every day. And you have to bear with it and not allow the setbacks or failures overcome the triumphs. And I promise you that there's been more triumphs than setbacks. Much more.
Really good.
Much more.
You gain that, everyone. This is, I'm telling you, that you're really deep, man. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, it comes from the heart. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, when it comes from the heart, it really means something.
Mm-hmm. Because a person can feel it. They can feel the presence, that when you're there for them and you're not afraid to challenge them on certain conversations or certain thought process, they're going to receive, because they know they're genuine. So, like a lot of times when I talk to them, they're like, you from New York? I'm like, yeah, I'm from the Bronx. I'm not from Connecticut. I'm from NY. Oh, okay, mister. But a lot of young people that live out here, or live, I cover Waterbury, Maryland, different towns, a lot of them come from New York. From Brooklyn, from the Bronx, from Barrio, Spanish Harlem, in case guys don't know what that is in translation. So when they hear me speak, they be like, okay, wait a minute. He sound like one of us. Like, in other words, he's not being us, but he understands dialect. He understands language. We're not talking about English. We're talking about like language that goes much more diverse than just the English language. So, because dialects is different. So, like, for example, people from New York talk different from people from Bridgeport. Or let's say people from Waterbury talk different from folks from Bridgeport, even though it's still English, but the dialects is different.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that young people hear when I speak, they're like, okay, I can connect. There's something that's different as far as how he's speaking. It's like a lot of, because the age range is from 16 to 24, right?
Yeah.
And I'm 48, guys. I'm not old. I'm 48 years young. I ain't an old man. I'm still young. All right. So, but they hear a person that sounds like a father to them, like showing them right from wrong, showing them how to discern right from wrong, good and evil, godly, ungodly, holy, unholy. For example, it's about discerning them how to see the difference between the two and what the outcome is for us, the consequence of one's decision. So they hear it from that standpoint of, oh man, like I can really relate, and that's what the hope is, and this is what I strive for every day.
Relatability, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Relatability and adaptability. Without compromising. In other words, what's a great example? Okay, if you're familiar with the Bible, Paul was masterful when it comes to adapting. So he was with a certain group. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be with this group, but I still know who I am. If it's with the Jews is here. Gentiles, cool. If it's whoever, I can adapt. So me being Puerto Rican, so if I'm around Puerto Ricans, obviously that's my bloodline, you adapt. If I'm with Jamaicans, you have to adapt. Haitians, Caucasians, whoever, right? Italians, whoever. When you adapt, you're not compromising, but you're understanding their way or their lingo.
Yeah.
And you're meeting where they're at without looking down upon them and not sound like you're trying to be like them, but you're able to decipher in a way that folks can relate and say, okay, it's not scripted, it's sincere.
Yes.
I find that to be, very impactful with the cultural diversity that you're speaking of. Everybody sees things different. And for anybody who doesn't know is, I can say something like if I were to look at Aaron and say, hey, Aaron, your shirt's okay today, man. Like, not bad. He may be like, oh, that's a nice compliment. But somebody from a different background may be like, did he insult my shirt? And it creates that level of disconnect. So being able to adapt to the clientele that you're serving, I feel is crucial in the work that you do.
Like, for example, a lot of times, like, I'll look at somebody's sneakers, I'm like, oh, sneakers is dope. They're like, oh, okay, dope. But then some people might be like, are you trying to say these like drugs? No, that's not what we're saying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times back then you hear dope, you hear, oh, there's drug transaction happening, right? But someone's fashion or someone's, sneakers, for example, I'm like, oh, those sneakers is dope. Oh, they're like, oh, those sneakers is dope. In other words, I like what you got on, right? So it's all about understanding the dynamic and the environment that you're around. That you're not trying to act like them, but you understand them. There's a difference.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Because they can tell when you're trying too hard, they don't know it. Because it almost sounds scripted versus just it comes out naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. That's because you want to make sure that they 100% understand you, and that way they don't misinterpret it. Which is also communication skills as well. So, no, that's a good moral for all of you who are watching this or listening to this. That's very important in the future. Keep that in mind. So, now one question.
Sure.
Let's say, have there been any struggles with Job Corp when working with individuals? And when I say struggles, anything that, let's say if one person is like, I don't know how to do this, or or just gives up. How are you able to encourage or motivate them so that way they don't give up or feel all overwhelmed?
Here's what happens. I was mentioning this earlier, Aaron, is that they have this entitlement mentality where everything's been given to them, or they have this mindset that everything's expected to be given to them. So when you don't give it to them and they actually learn how to, face that reality of working on your own as far as just being productive and learning how to do certain skills and learn how to follow certain protocols, it's hard for them because they're so used to doing a certain way, doing something a certain way, and it's a disservice. So when they go through different struggles, we have to identify what the struggles are.
Yeah.
Could it be a cognitive issue? Sure. Could it be a social issue? Sure. Could it be the inability to read? Could be. There's never one particular area that they struggle with. But when they talk about the struggle, you have to identify what that is. And then you have to find out what's the root of it as far as what's leading to that struggle. And was there any kind of intervention in between that? And then afterwards, you figure out different solutions, because it's easy to point out the problems.
Yeah.
That's easy. You could point out the problems and start complaining, start bickering about it, but you have to have solutions to address what the problems is. So for me, the way I encourage them is through prayer. I encourage them to just meet them where they're at, identifying what the problems are. Let's start strategizing as far as putting things in play. Because everything be done with decency, let it be done with order. Because you need order, you need structure there. So it's all about just figuring out different outlets to address what the deficiencies are, whatever that may be. So it may not be just necessarily they just can't read. They just probably don't know how to just, do these kind of hands-on skills, as per se. But what's great about Job Corps is that it's self-paced.
Yeah.
Everyone learns at a different rate. We're not saying that because a person learns faster that they're smarter. They just probably catch on quicker. That doesn't diminish those who learn. And I don't want to say the word slow because that can be very offensive. It's more methodical as far as the style of learning. Some people may take repetition. Some people might take, demonstration. Job Corps adapts to meet the person's needs based on what their deficiencies are. So it could be one, it could be multiple, but it's about meeting where they are, and it's about accommodating them where we're helping you without you feeling like you're stupid, because that's not the case. It's about giving you tools for you to use and to cultivate it.
Yeah. Because there's no one style of learning or working. There's like multiple styles everywhere. So no, that's a really good point.
I take great joy to see young people make it. I take great joy because I know they have more to give. You just gotta give them a chance. I know what it's like, even as adults looking for jobs, we've been denied. If we're being really honest, we've been denied.
Yeah.
Fairly or unfairly, we have been denied for some reason. Could be a racial issue, could be disability, could be because you're more of a threat to me, I don't want you to take my position. Whatever the case may be, fairly or unfairly, we've been denied. What do you think young people go through?
Yeah.
They're being denied. So I always give them a fighting chance to say, I'm not going to deny you. Now, you give me a reason for me to deny you, that's on you now, because now you're planting that kind of weed that I don't want. It's about planting seeds. Because weed's a killer. When you plant seeds, when it grows up, it sprouts.
Yes.
Yeah. How does Job Corps ensure that young people with disabilities have supports they need to be successful?
So young people will identify what their disabilities are. We have young people who have disability, and I'm not saying that defines them. Like I said, that's not who you are. Don't let the world tell you you're disabled. Stop letting the world tell you you're disabled, that you're handicapped. Regardless of what you're going through, we're gonna figure this out together, right? So we help people regardless of. But let's just say more specific, just for the sake of argument. If someone has a disability, we ask them, okay, do you have a 504 plan? Do you have an IEP? What do you have? Oh, I have an IEP, based on academic deficiencies or, social, lack of awareness or just behavior issues. So, of course, we read it to know what we're dealing with, and then making sure that we, execute the game plan as far as meeting that person where they are, regardless of what their, and I'm just saying specific, quote unquote, specific disabilities are. But there are people who have no disability and they go through issues.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, because here's the narrative, right? So people think that because a person doesn't have a disability, they're well off versus everybody else. That's not true. Who told you that? Yeah, people learn differently, but that don't mean that they're stupid. That don't mean that they're handicapped. So stop treating them as such.
Exactly.
They're people too. I've got young people who have autism. They're in Job Corps rocking. I've got young people who have disability as far as, IEP. They're doing tremendous because you know why? That does not define who they are. It's what they deal with, but that's not who they are. So you have to stop letting the world tell you who they want you to be or who they think you are based off documents. No, let me get to know you.
Yes.
Now, once I get to know you, okay, now we can start building. Because a lot of times folks will do it. They'll read over paper and then, okay, this person has this thing, and they treat you as such. Nah, get to know the person for us. What led to that? What was the barriers there? How can we help them overcome? And it's not just disability. How about those that had a criminal record? They'll read this paper and say, well, he's a criminal, I'm going to treat him as such. Why?
Yeah.
And people act like, and the thing about it is that people act as if they never done wrong. Stop lying. Everyone has done wrong.
That's a conversation I've had with people is, and this will apply to myself. I'm no saint. I've done things that other people have done and they got caught. I didn't. And, I'm not saying it might have been something bad, but everybody can look and say there's something at some point. If they would have got caught doing it, they might have faced legal trouble. And it's just, a stupid mistake. And you shouldn't define somebody off of just a simple mistake.
Exactly.
Everyone has a past. So what I'm saying is that let's not act as if we don't have a past, because we all do.
Yes.
But it's all about how do we persevere, because the past don't define me. My past does not dictate my life. it doesn't dictate my future. My past helps me solidify a future.
Yes. Like, everyone has flaws. Everyone
Everybody.
makes mistakes. And
Everybody.
like there is no perfection. It doesn't have to be perfection. No, it's actually good that you have those flaws because those flaws take you. It helps you develop as a person, as a worker, or like in general. It brings you to that path.
Right. Without them flaws, how you expect to grow? Without them flaws, how you expect to inspire somebody? How does your flaw can actually testify, what you've done in life that's going to help bring someone to, an awareness that, that there is actually hope after all.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? No, everyone's flawed. Everyone has their infractions, their transgressions that they committed. But it's about how do you overcome it and how can you inspire someone that's going through what you've gone through.
Exactly. We're talking about growth here. And it's like from that question I was asking you earlier about the struggles. That's that one thing. We all struggle. We all have our moments. But we should never let those struggles define who we are as a person.
Right.
And never let us get consumed by that. You make a mistake, But don't,
I'm going to say that mistakes are valuable when you learn from it.
Yeah.
There's a difference of mistakes and then habits. Mistake is, you said something wrong, you did something wrong, you did both, and you repent from what you did wrong, and you made the changes not because of your mouth, but your actions. Because everyone can say, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, apologizing means I recognize what I did wrong, and it's about changing, and not with your mouth, your behavior changes. I see more than I believe. So in other words, not your mouth, but does the behavior change according to what you did wrong, and making those changes.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. When I was a little kid, I was in elementary school. I mean, I was a good kid, but I was also a pain in the butt as a kid. And there were times where I have said things to children, to my classmates.
Sure.
And I regretted that. And at first I let that consume me. But then as time passed, I was like, nah. I'm gonna do what's right.
Right.
I genuinely apologized to that person, and then we became best friends.
That's dope.
That growth right there. But, and like I said before, at first I let it consume me because I was like, oh gosh, I'm a bad person.
It's condemnation.
But then I realized you have a chance to do the right thing.
Yeah.
There's redemption there.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened.
Absolutely.
Because at first we became enemies, and now we're best friends. Me and that classmate. So that was.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Kind of similar to your story, right? So when I was back in college, right? So I was taking biology for a class, and I always write down homework that's due, the day after, for example. And for some reason, I thought I wrote down the homework assignment for a biology class, and I didn't write it down for some odd reason. So I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? I said, man, I'm going to start off miserably as far as getting a bad grade, getting a failing grade. So I remember getting on the bus. Because back in New York, I had to take 2 trains and a bus. And I remember I got on the bus heading to school, to college at the time, and I saw someone that took the same class with me, but we didn't like each other. I'm like, oh man. But I'm like, okay, all right, guy, you got a sense of humor. The person I didn't want to see, he puts him there. I'm like, okay, this is funny. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just, I don't want to implement or incorporate my pride or anything of that nature. So I went up to him and I said, listen, man, I'm not here to bother you. I'm not here to pick on you or bully you. I just want to know what the homework was. So he's okay. Well, here's the homework for the class that the homework was based off, reading this book, these chapters, and reviews, and so forth. And what broke the ice was back then in the '90s we had CDs, right? You had tape play, you had a record cassette tape players, you had CDs. So he saw the CD of Nas's first album, Illmatic. He goes, "That's you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my listen to Illmatic right now." He goes, "For real?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I listen to Nas too." So that kind of broke the ice as far as we had something in common. Like we just had a CD that we both liked, and from that point on, we've been 31 years best friends. It's my brother, 31 years.
There you go. That's really good. It's that connection, that redemption as well, relationship building. It's
You're breaking down perception.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say, John?
No, I mean, you guys are really carrying the conversation here. It's some powerful stuff here, and it go back and forth. So it's, I think
people, write it down. Write it down. I'm telling you right now. So, can you share a story about someone who has worked with you at Job Corp that was able to be successful?
Wow, which one?
For he, she, or their future.
For their future. I got this one young student. He's from Waterbury, 16, and he stopped going to school. I said, why he stopped going to school? He goes, fear. I said, fear of what? He goes, gangs. I said, be more specific. He said, that the gangs were trying to recruit him. And he said, no, I don't want to be a part of the gang because I know what this is all about. I know what it's going to lead to. I don't want to be a part of it. But you have youngsters that try to push up on them and harass to join gangs. And nowadays, becoming cool. If you don't do something that they want you to get involved in, they'll beat you up, they'll jump you or something. So that's why I stopped going to school because of that fear. I said, okay, hardly because I'm 16. I said, okay, you and your mother come with me. So he came with his mom. At first I met the mother because she came to orientation.
Yeah.
And so she was excited about what Job Corp represented. She gave her a whole spiel about it. And she's like, you know what? My son needs to go. So she called the son through FaceTime. And I actually did an orientation with her and her son on FaceTime. And he was like, yeah, mister, I want to go. I need to build a better life. I want to do something. I said, what do you want to get into? Because I want to get to construction. So I said, you can leave outside Connecticut if you want to. He goes, I do. I want to explore and expand beyond my zip code. So he came in, did the paperwork, passed the background check, did great. Right now he's in New Hampshire doing electrician.
Wow.
At 16.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
So he's currently in the process right now. So he's in Job Corp, getting his GED, focus on his certification, become an electrician, and he's also looking to establish a career. He's still in Job Corp right now.
So I think that segues us perfectly for our question is what does Job Corps do with employers to create opportunities for graduates?
So when Job Corps, so in other words, when a young person graduates from Job Corps, they have obviously to go to college, they go to the military, do advanced training, start working, or do another trade because it's a 2-year investment. I tell folks, don't look at it like high school, 4 years of boring grinding as far as 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 4 years of science. Don't even look at that as 4-year college. Look at that as an investment of what you put is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
So even the mindset has been altered as far as their way of thinking. And, young people look at it now different as far I'm not rushing, high school, I'm rushing. They look at it more okay, what can I get the most out of? So in other words, young people who are doing great in Job Corps, like this young man, are figuring out how do I get creative. So if I'm in Job Corps and I want to do a trade, right? I want to start working part-time while I'm in Job Corps. There are young people who are doing a trade. That's on the basketball team. You got young people who are working on the trade and working on getting a driver's license because they understand, get my license, I got to travel, right? So they're starting to figure out how to get creative. And I love that because they're not looking at, let me hurry up because high school. They're looking at, no, I want to invest and get the most out of it and get involved and learn and develop my character. So, Job Corps really helps to solidify that as far as options. We invite personnel to go to Job Corps. So we have let's say we have a college and career day or something. Let's say we have, we invite different personnel from the military to talk to young people about we need medics, we need, chefs and so forth. We invited different jobs, organizations, businesses to talk about, criteria, what we look for in a young person, the skill sets and all. So we do a lot of hands-on marketing and promoting as far as inviting from the outside. Look, come to our facilities. Come to our facilities so that you can invest and impart, opportunities as far as employment, skill sets and things of that nature. So it has been tremendous. Every week, if every week I always, check on the young person. How's your week? How'd you do a job call? What did your week look like? And I had 2 girls telling me how they was, working hands-on with Red Cross as far as learning, like, the medical aspect of it, learning how to, provide resources there, learning about protocols, learning about terminology. So they was really excited about learning about the whole hands-on, like, man, someone's house get burned down. What can we do to be a blessing? What can we do to help them out? So they was really involved. One of them was doing like, 2 of them was actually involved in the blood drive as far as the whole American Red Cross collaboration that they was working together though. So it was tremendous. They love it because it's hands-on. Their learning's different. They feel like, what, I got a chance to build a career. One of them's in the process of trying to become an LPN.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And she got high school diploma, so I'm proud of her.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
That's,
You'll have a new success story to share pretty soon.
I got well, you know what? I'm very hopeful that there'll be a lot more success stories about young people.
I'm sure there's
A lot of times you hear the whole narrative of young person got shot, young person got locked up, they're in jail, doing 25 to life, doing 10 years. No. We're gonna have more success stories.
yes.
And that needs to be more highlighted because a lot of times you think about it, a lot of times people highlight the negativity.
Yeah.
But when it comes to success and triumphs and achievements, why is that being quiet? Nah, boasted.
That's, yes.
Boasted. Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And I think this actually goes down to, my final question I have for you.
Sure.
Now I know you've given us and a lot of people in the audience who are listening to this or watching this so many lessons, but what is one important lesson you can give to our wonderful audience in terms of being successful and how to develop yourself as a person and a worker?
So it's more like what advice would I give for encouragement, more or less?
Basically.
Okay. And number one, I tell young people, and I say this and I'm unapologetic about it, is that always put God first. Put Jesus Christ first, because without God, you got nothing. That's number one. 2, be unapologetic of who God made you to be. Be different, be creative, be unique. Stand out, don't fit in. Because if you notice, fitting is corny. But standing out is going to attract more, that they're going to know what makes that person different, right? So be unapologetic about it. And be unafraid to ask questions. Be unafraid to find out as far as research. And believe in the mission as far as what you have to bring to the table as far as, making a difference to a community that's been battered. And what I would encourage them and enlighten their minds is be yourself. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself, be different. There'll be those that will love you for it. There'll be those that will hate you for that. But don't let people's persuasion of you looking at life different because of their lenses. It's about you figuring out what makes sense to you and figuring out how to, navigate in a way that's unique. Be creative, be innovative, be a visionary, be different. If you know how fitting looks like, there's no originality. But when you stand out, that's what great minds do. They stand out, they figure out. And there'll be those that would respect you. There'll be those that would not respect you, but that's okay. But don't let people's poor influence or toxicity around you influence you to make poor decisions. You keep on moving forward, continue to progress. You fell, all right, you fall, get back up, keep going. Fight the good fight. That's how I'll tell them.
That's a wonderful piece of advice.
Mm-hmm. I think it is wonderful. And I got one last question for you myself.
Yes, sir.
This is for all the young people that may be going through something hard, or they're just looking to apply to Job Corps, but they're hesitant. What would you tell them if they came to you and said, I would like to apply, but I'm not sure if I should?
I'll ask them what's the hold up. And I want them to be honest. Like I said from the very beginning, honesty. Be honest about whatever it is. If I'm gonna say it like this. I have 2 right now, because I give prospects every morning, so we'll get prospects that apply the night before or maybe the morning of. And young people who mean business, they mean business. They're not fooling around. I have over 100 kids right now that are making it. Because when they want to do something, They're not letting nothing stop them. They'll ask questions in between, but when they mean business, they mean business.
Good.
They're not fooling around. I have 2 young kids right now. One of them is actually in the process of ending her probation right now. In the process of closing out her case. Probation. She said it's going to get closed on this day. I have this, and working together. We're not playing. These young people are not playing. When they mean business, they mean business. And a lot of them mean business. And then those who are lollygagging, I don't condemn them. I'll say, well, look, when you're ready, you let me know. If you need options, you want to figure it out, that's fine. But regardless of, you need structure. And a lot of times they don't want to hear the whole, discipline. Yeah, you do need discipline because life don't evolve around you. You have to evolve around what life is coming at you with. You have to, in other words, for example, I'll take Jocko. Jocko does not compromise values for you. You have to adapt to what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So if there's any hesitation, I would ask them, what's the barrier? What's the hold up? Be honest. Don't ever, as I quote unquote, don't butter my muffin. Be honest about it.
Yeah, you're not there to judge them either.
No.
You're here to help, and I think honesty is the biggest key in that you can't help if you don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll say this though. Yes, there's an aspect of judgment that's correct. Let me tell you what I mean. You don't judge because they look different from you, or they eat something different from you. Because that judgment is wrong because you're looking down upon and you're ostracizing.
Right.
But you can't judge decisions, behavior, right and wrong. Because that's like someone saying, okay, I like to smoke weed, but don't judge me. What? Yes, I can, because guess that's wrong. Or I'm about to go rob somebody, but don't judge me. Really? I am going to judge it because that's wrong. You can judge right and wrong. Because where's the accountability?
Yeah.
That's true.
Where's the accountability? If you don't judge right and wrong, how are they going to understand accountability? So there's a righteous way of judging. I'm not saying judging because I eat something different or I like a different team from you or I dress different from you. That's judgment of looking down upon and ostracizing. That's wrong. But if I'm seeing you going down on a path that's destructive, you best believe I'm going to judge that. Because you know why? I see where this is going to go. I see where it's heading towards. And if you don't pull back, you're going to be buried 6 feet under and you're not going to heaven. It gets that real.
Exactly.
It gets that real. Yes, sir.
I feel like that's one of the best ways to help too is to let them know you are on a path that is not going to end well. And, Job Corps really can step in and help give them some structure and create a future.
I'll give you an example. I'm going to share this story. This came just now. So I went to a trade expo at Brian T. Maloney High School in Meriden, right? So they invited me. They're like, Job Corps, we love you guys. Please come, talk to our students and so forth. That's no problem. So, and I had a whole bag as far as tears of joy. Let me tell you what happened. So I'm in there talking to young people out there asking questions and so forth. So it was on a Tuesday. One of my students went to that school. And I'm thinking she's just going to just let me know, oh, mister, I'm on my way. I'm on my way to Shriver, Massachusetts. I'm like, okay, cool. She goes to the school where I was at.
Oh, wow.
Think about this. She went to the school where I was out there doing the trade expo and visited me before she was over there. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. It was almost like I wanted to cry. Not like, sobbing like sorrow, but like joy. Like it just came out of nowhere.
Tears of joy.
It was tears of joy. I was like, wow. And as she was getting ready to head out, she gave me a hug and I said, listen, I'm going to pray for you. Just lock in, focus, just pay attention to what the task is at hand. Watch out for the distractions and so forth. And she was like, I am mister. I'm going to just give it all I have. I just wanted to stop by and say hi. I said, thank you so much. And that made my day.
That was very sweet.
Because that came out of nowhere. It wasn't planned like, oh, come see. No. No way. It's, yeah. And so when you hear those experiences, it humbles you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not only that it humbles me, but it continues to give me a drive to keep fighting. And it's what I fight for. But one man can't do it on his own, man. It takes a whole camaraderie of people to work together to really, solidify, especially now what young people are being under attack, families being under attack, and we have to stop putting ourselves in a position of trying to compete. No, let's collaborate to work together to achieve a common goal. Because What may not work for mine may work for him. What may not work for him might work for me, vice versa. So it's not about mine's better than yours. Because if you think about it, in the corporate world, we live in a mindset of selfishness.
Yeah.
Mine's is better than yours. And what's your point? What could be taken from you, what could be given to you, could be taken from you if you're not careful.
Yes.
That's the way it is.
That's real talk. I mean, what could be given to you could be taken from you if you're not careful. Because sometimes folks have this mindset of being egotistical, and if you feel like you're above, you're gonna get knocked down. You got to get knocked off your high horse.
Yes.
So it's about having humility. It's about work, because young people, in other words, young people come from a chaotic, violent environment, right? So they see the selfishness, they see the greed, the anger, the fights, and all. So when they come to an environment like this, for example, okay, well, how do the adults act? How do the adults act? Because if the adults act like clowns, guess what? I'm a clown too, because guess what? They doing it, so it's okay. Versus if we collaborate and say, yo, we can work on something together, they're going to be like, oh, there's actually structure.
Yeah.
There's some kind of order that I need something of it. So that's why it's so important to really help solidify of truly being a community. Because within the word community, there's a word within. Unity. Who needs to be there?
I'm speechless.
Because it's real conversation. It's authentic. It's about dealing with real people, real life encounters.
Yes.
And you don't take it lightly. I don't. Because one moment I can see you, right? Next moment you could be gone. Just like that.
Yeah, that is true.
So I don't take it lightly. I don't. That's why I take tremendous honor to fight the good fight every day.
Yeah. Never stop fighting.
Never.
Remember that, people. Never stop fighting. You keep fighting, not just for yourself, but for others. That can lead to change.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. All right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, John, for co-hosting with me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And don't forget, join John Corp. And don't forget to check out the Northwest Regional Workforce Board, their website, their YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out on Facebook. Because this can help you.
Let me just promote real quick about Job Corps. So, a couple of things. Number one, so as I introduced myself earlier, my name is Robert Velez Jr., everyone. I work for the New Haven Job Corps Center, located in Waterbury. If you need to know more information about Job Corps, call me at 934-867-9930. Just call me directly. So I cover towns. So living in Bridgeport right now, if you take Route 8, so I cover the areas of Derby upward, and then I-84 across town like Meriden, Wallingford, Prospect, Waterbury, Southbury, those towns, for example. I cover those areas there. So Cheshire, if anyone is looking to find out about what Job Corps is, contact me directly, and I'll walk you through on what's going on as far as what's happening with you, what the next steps are, and then just be fully devoted and committed. You know, sometimes, you hear this narrative of college, that college is the only way for an education. That's not true. I'm not against college. Don't misconstrue me. I'm not saying college is bad. I'm saying college is an outlet, but it's not the only source of education. Job Corps fills a lot of gaps where young folks that didn't graduate high school, they get the high school diploma, GED at Job Corps. There are folks who need certification that graduate high school but don't want to go to college. Well, Job Corps helps you, as far as being more educationally sounded. There are those who have their bachelor's degree and master's degree and don't have a job. Job Corps helps you out in different areas. So it's all about Job Corps, how it plugs and fills a lot of gaps. And Job Corps brings hope in different aspects of it as far as what it represents, the whole mission, everything else. So if anyone that's interested for the age of 16 to 24, please contact me. Once again, 934-867-9930. And just let's mean business, let's do business, and let's really become a community. Thank you guys. God bless you guys. Enjoy this wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you all for watching and listening to another fun episode of Career Chats with Aaron. I'm your host, Aaron Williams. And remember, work hard and hold on to your dreams. I'll see you next time.